6 challenges faced in marriage and their solution. She was chatting with a friend recently, and she said that she and her partner have been together for many years, and they have a very good relationship and are suitable in every aspect. But she still doesn't dare and doesn't want to get married, because she always felt that getting married would inevitably bring some changes to the relationship between the two. For example, we are so good now, but that won't be the case after marriage. The daily necessities and trivial matters in marriage may affect the relationship. After we get married, we not only have to deal with our problems, but we also have to face the problems of two families. What if he changes his mind, cheats, or becomes tired of the relationship? She talked a lot about her worries about marriage, and I could clearly feel her fear of the word marriage. This reminds me of an old saying, marriage is the grave of love. But is marriage really as terrible as she imagined? Objectively speaking, what kind of challenges does marriage present? How can we prevent and respond? Today, we want to talk to you about this issue. Marriage does bring some challenges to intimate relationships. In the book Marriage Challenges, American psychologists describe the problems and challenges that may be involved in married life, specifically including the following 6 aspects. Challenge 1. Emotional changes. The excitement and joy of being in love is brought about by the secretion of dopamine, norepinephrine, and phenylethylamine. But this feeling will gradually disappear within 2 to 3 years as our tolerance increases. In other words, our body structure determines that we cannot fall in love for a long time. But marriage is a long-term gap after passion dissipates. If people misinterpret this change as the disappearance of love, conflicts can easily break out. In addition, relationships between people are fluid. Mobility brings changes and triggers emotions. Emotions are guides that remind us to make changes, but many people regard them as natural reactions to external stimuli. For example, I am angry because the other person has changed. Then they shirk responsibility. Blaming the other person will also affect the relationship. Challenge 2. Differences in living habits. In the stage of love or newlyweds, people will try their best to hide their shortcomings to appear compatible with the other person and maintain their image in the other person's heart. But in a long-term marriage, the true living habits of two people will be completely exposed to each other. At this time, how to deal with differences and whether they can reconcile are all challenges brought by marriage. The adjustment of living habits is not easy, and it may be even more difficult in a marriage relationship. This is because any collective life that wants to be harmonious must abide by certain rules. This is called the logic of collective life. But the difficulty of marriage is that we often regard the other person as the closest person to us because of a marriage certificate. Because we are close enough, we will ignore the formulation and implementation of rules, which may cause more friction and conflicts. Challenge 3. Complex family relationships. Marriage is not only a matter of two people, but also a matter of two families. This view may sound a bit old-fashioned, but in fact, the involvement of complex family relationships is indeed a difficult proposition for marriage. Psychologists believe that when two people have a conflict, if the other person's family is involved, we tend to start a defensive posture and blame the other person and his family. Once such a confrontation occurs, it is difficult to find a solution that satisfies both parties. When we were dating, we had little contact with each other's family. I thought his family was easy to get along with, but, ugh. There were two things that I was particularly helpless about after marriage. One was that after we quarreled, his parents would come to comment. Saying something wrong with me makes me feel that it is very out of bounds. Another is that his relatives often ask me to help with things. Sometimes it is really inconvenient for me, but he still can't say that it violates other people's faith. It's an irreconcilable conflict, but it does make people feel drained and exhausted. Challenge 4. Sexual life issues. Research shows that for both men and women, sexual desire tends to increase to a peak and then decline with age. In other words, in a long-term marriage, both parties will face the problem of decreased sexual desire and gradual indifference in sexual life. Among them, a fifth of the couples will encounter disharmony in their sexual life. There is a kind of mismatch called mismatch in sexual life. Although from the perspective of the change curve, the decrease in female sexual desire is more gradual, psychological counselors have found that once a woman gets married, her sexual desire will decrease significantly. This is because a female's sexual desire is closely related to how sexy she feels herself. When they are single, they may pay more attention to sports, fashion, underwear, and makeup. They will also feel more sexy and have enhanced sexual arousal. But after marriage, women's focus may turn to family and children, and they will no longer pay so much attention to whether they are sexy, which will affect their sexual desire and quality of sex life. Challenge 5. Differences in educational philosophies. When it comes to children's education, it is difficult for couples to avoid conflicts. Because educational concepts can reveal a person's overall outlook on life, a person's entire philosophy of life, children will learn the ways and rules of dealing with the world from their parents, and parents' differences and conflicts, in addition to affecting the child's individual development, will also affect family relations. I think it's very important to have bad habits since childhood. If you manage them strictly when you are young, you don't have to worry about it when you grow up. But my wife feels that naughty and playful nature in childhood are natural and should not be suppressed. I don't know if she is because of her own. My childhood was too strict, so I wanted my children to play freely. But no matter what, differences in education would make us quarrel over big and small things, and sometimes I would wonder if we were really not suitable for each other. Challenge 6. Unresolved personal trauma. When one or both parties in a marriage bring unresolved traumatic experiences into the marriage, it is easy to trigger trauma awareness and trigger violent reactions due to some inconspicuous triggers. For example, if a person was teased and ridiculed by his classmates about his family during his childhood, then his partner may ask about his family situation or express daily concern, which may cause his stress reaction. For another example, if a person has suffered betrayal, any abnormal behavior of his partner, even if he just glances at others, may be suspected. Relationships may indeed have a certain healing effect on a person's original traumas and shortcomings, but if we ourselves are unable to detect, face up to, and resolve the traumas in our own life journeys, and continue to cover up and attack them in marriage, it will ultimately only affect the marriage itself. Don't be afraid when you see this. Although these marriage challenges exist, objectively, they are actually not that scary. For many people, marriage is still a stage of life full of expectations and longing. So, what should you do if you want to continue to maintain a sweet and harmonious relationship after marriage? Here are some tips. It may help you effectively deal with marital challenges. Facing the challenges of marriage, we actually do not need to make huge changes in values or personality to deal with them. Some details and intentions in life are enough to help us gain a sweet and long-lasting marriage. Tip 1. Couples need independent space, but also common time after marriage. Couples do need to give each other some independent space, but in fact, most people ignore the importance of together time. In one study, researchers found that couples who were asked to watch romantic movies together experienced improvements in their relationships. This is because watching romantic movies together provides couples with a less threatening situation in which they can discuss their relationship. Therefore, you can watch love-related movies and TV shows together, or chat about the love stories of friends around you. This will create an opportunity for you to discuss and solve your own relationship problems. Tip 2. When getting along, we must adhere to the principle of treating the issue, not the person. It seems to be a very simple truth, but it is often forgotten by people. Adhere to deal with the situation, not the person, which means that if a certain behavior or thing of the other party makes you feel uncomfortable, discuss the specific matter instead of personal attacks. This matter makes me feel uncomfortable. I think you may have handled it the wrong way. Let's talk about it. You are a very selfish person who only thinks about yourself. In order to better implement the principle of treating the situation, not the person, you can use more expressions from the perspective of self-perception, such as I feel, and at the same time ask the other party's opinions more to promote back and forth communication. Tip 3. Remember to have a list of what not to say. In the book How to Quarrel Correctly, 6 negative expressions that can hurt feelings are summarized. Avoid saying the following words in marriage to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Tip 4. Learn a good way to apologize and stick to it when you do something that makes your partner unhappy or disappointed. A good apology can effectively repair the relationship and even improve the quality of your marriage. Here is a rule for your reference apology. Telling someone you're sorry for disappointing them or making them sad. Affection. Make a meaningful gesture that expresses love, such as a hug or a small gift. A promise of action. How you will make changes after you promise. Note that a promise of action will involve your review of things and your specific direction of change and how you plan to do it, rather than simply say I will change. Tip 5. Lost sexual desire? Try 30 seconds kiss in one experiment. Researchers asked heterosexual college couples to kiss for 15 minutes while listening to music and found that stress-related cortisol levels in their bodies dropped significantly. Kissing allows people to relieve the stress of life and re-engage and experience love. However, 15 minutes seems a bit difficult for familiar couples, so try 30 seconds kiss. Researchers in California have found that a 30-second kiss can also stimulate the secretion of oxytocin in both parties and promote the hormone to reach its optimal state. Perhaps it can help you regain your desire for each other and experience the atmosphere of love. Tip 6. Maintain his or her image in front of your friends and relative history to avoid frequently belittling, complaining, and insulting your partner in front of family and friends. The problems in your marriage are something that the two of you have to face and solve, rather than a war that he and they have to fight. A 10-year study followed 95 couples. It was found that partners who use positive words to describe their spouses generally stayed together longer, while those who spoke of their partners in negative terms were more likely to divorce. Additionally, if a person regularly praises his partner publicly, he or she will develop a deeper appreciation for his or her partner. In fact, the most stable and happiest relationship is one in which husband and wife share power and respect each other. You will make all the important decisions in life together, and you will see the two of you as a true unit. When there is a problem, it is we who have to solve the problem, not you or I who have the problem. This kind of marriage relationship may not be achieved overnight, but must be cultivated and watered consciously in the life together. Ultimately, we all need to learn to establish a sincere interest in each other and a life-connected care in the long future of our lives. Although marriage is full of challenges, I am still willing to take risks with you and never leave you. Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.